And that was Rio Grande Blood by Ministry. And so we have him right now, Mr.Sunerok, VergeDev, here with us. Hello, good sir. How are you?
What's going on?
I don't know. You tell me, good
That is such a good song, man. I can listen to that song on repeat.
Oh, I have.
That's a good, like, get shit done while you're working kind of song.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And speaking of getting shit done, how's it been going with regard to Verge currency?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, things are going really good, man. I'm just finishing up some stuff for Wraith, the next release, and the marketing guys have been keeping the website up to date and all that good stuff.
Now, I noticed we've been getting picked up on quite a few new exchanges.
Yeah, and new vendors too, like new places that are accepting Verge. That's pretty exciting.
Now, any in particular? I mean, I remember that we had Pex Peppers that were really good with us, but who else?
Oh yeah, well, I think Pex was actually like our first vendor.
Oh wow.
That was man. He started accepting Verge like two and a half years ago.
Wow.
I think the first time I bought some, I think back then we were like buying hot sauce from him for like 15 million Verge.
I bet he feels silly for any of them he's sold.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sucks if he sold, but at the same time, it's good for distribution,
Oh, absolutely. Get them in circulation.
Yeah.
So now, what has been going on with regard to exchanges? I noticed I saw something the other day where you're going to be acting as an advisor to somebody now.
Yeah, I'm acting as an advisor for Token Pay. They're an ICO, real coin, not ERC 20 token or anything coming out. But yeah, we're going to be listed. They're going to have a debit card system, and Verge is going to be able to be loaded on their cards.
No,
and they have an offshore bank that they're going to be doing the cards from, so you'll still be able to retain anonymity.
So now, how does that work? I mean, how does that retain anonymity?
Well, I believe that the island that the bank is on has a strict policy of like not turning over user information like that. I think it's actually a jailable offense.
Oh wow! Well, what jurisdiction is that? Or do you know?
From what I read about it, it's I don't know if they've announced it yet. I'll leave it to those guys. But from what I read about it, it's legit and it's pretty interesting stuff. So
cool.
So I mean, that's not my area of expertise, but having Verge, loaded onto an anonymous debit card sounds cool to me. So.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with what's been coming down the pike with regard to legislation. I don't know. Have you been paying attention to the scuttlebutt regarding SB 1241?
Refresh me. Probably.
It's some terrorist financing bullshit bill, and it has in its title. I'm pretty sure.
Is this the concealed Bitcoin thing?
Yeah.
Dude, that'll never pass.
You don't think so?
Well, I mean, I shouldn't say never because this country never ceases to surprise me. In terms of like sometimes I'm like, man, we don't really even have any rights for them left to take. But then I think about stuff like this where it's like it's not even a right being stripped from you. It's like you are going to start giving us information now.
You were getting a little choppy there, but yeah, I caught what you were saying there about you will give us all your information.
Yeah, well, it's like we have so many civil liberties that have already been stripped away from us. So it's like at this point, man, what else is left? I guess now we just have to start force feeding them information about what we do.
Yeah, and it's funny because I read Ajit Pai's dissent against net neutrality, and the impression I was given by it was that the FCC kind of like expects vendors to anticipate what they might possibly regulate and how they might possibly regulate in the future. I think that's so fucking unreasonable, man. I mean, it's bad enough trying to wend through the minutia that they have available for your regulations, but on top of that, they want you to bust out a crystal ball and guess what they might be regulating next month.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. Well, and there's a lot of issues with that, because it's also like, we have internet, infrastructure already. So theoretically, everything should be getting cheaper, because when the initial per customer cost is factored, a lot of it has to do with the construction of the network itself.
Mm-hmm.
So every year that they're paying off that construction and that their expenses, shouldn't it be getting slightly cheaper? I mean, how are you going to go ahead and start saying, well, now we're going to regulate it per megabyte, and stuff like that?
I don't know, but I've been suspecting that for a while now that they would be trying to enact this kind of legislation on the internet and this type of regulation, and that people would do the same thing that they did with regard to copyright regulations, where they just said, we'll just build torrents and share our shit that way. And I don't know, I kind of expected it to go something like into mesh networks. I mean, that's something that I keep hearing more and more about, is people setting up their own ad hoc mesh networks.
Well, the one bright side, I guess, of having all these new investors in Bitcoin is that, there's definitely going to be people that we might not agree with on most things that would still agree that they don't like this, this bill that's being, looked at.
Well, I think you're correct there, unless you're operating under the assumption that both the regulators and the regulated, for the most part in the finance industry, work hand in glove. And so
right,
by reading it that way, you could just as easily assume that they're already prepared to address the additional regulatory burden, and we're not.
Yeah, well, it's a really strange thing to even ask of people anyway, because it's like you don't have to report. If I gave you a piece of gold, you don't have to report that legally. You don't have to, unless you sold it, which would be considered a capital gain. But if I just gave you a piece of gold, which is considered a commodity, of value, why you don't have to report that? So why would you have to report Bitcoin?
Yeah, I don't get that either. I think it's a bunch of silliness.
I think it's just I think it's really just kind of like the throws where they're just trying to get people afraid of it and say, hey, we're really trying to crack down, stay away from it.
Yeah, I happen to agree with that a lot. I think that if anything in crypto...
Maybe they're just trying to get cheap Bitcoins.
Why not? It works for the Chinese government, right?
They're like, we know this will never pass, but maybe we can knock the price down a few $100 and buy some more.
Get some cheap coin. Get some cheap coin. Speaking of cheap coin, taking a look at the chart for Verge, it looks like things are getting a little saucy down there. I don't know if you've been... Yeah,
I saw earlier everybody was saying that it was going up a bit again. I mean, a lot of people are always like, oh, why is Verge crashing? But, Verge pretty much always maintains its value.
Yeah, I quit listening to that panic talk a long time ago with regard to Verge. I mean, just because we've been through it all. Even this last thing where we saw... some of our people get peeled off into other projects and whatnot. This is nothing new. We've been here before.
Yeah, I mean, it's always steady to me. I mean, a half a penny and 6/10 of a penny is the same thing in my world.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially when you just being I guess being in my position is a little bit different. I just look at the beginning of the year and what happened to the end of the year, or from when it started until now. And, to me, it's just always been an upward trend. So I'm always happy with whatever the market's looking like.
I couldn't agree more. And like I said, I find myself a lot of times in the Telegram trying to calm those kids down. It's like, you guys have no idea. Do you have any idea how long we were at 3 sats? I mean, come on now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, imagine they played poker.
Oh, God. I'd take all their fucking money. I'd take all their fucking money. A lot of people
are just impatient, you know? They're just way too hyper to be traders, you know? But it's weird because in crypto, it's such an interesting thing and you want to get involved, but there really aren't a whole lot of aspects of how to get involved. I mean, you're either a trader, a long-term holder, or a miner, or a combination of all three.
Or a dev. The devs matter, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, or a dev, but I'm saying, like, you know, the average person that wants to get involved, you know?
Right. So now, what's your perspective with regard to what's going on in Bitcoin?
You know, I've been looking at the Bitcoin charts, you know, obviously for 6 years now, and it's really looking like it's going to double again soon. I'm really surprised and not surprised, just because it's been getting so much publicity. But I've never seen the sell book so sparse with such few coins. Like, I think earlier I saw on GDAX, which is, you know, the largest US dollar to Bitcoin exchange, I think I saw earlier that there was only like 2,000 coins available from, like, you know, 11,000 to 20,000. Like, man, that is nothing. Like, people are really hodling down. Like, it's wild.
You think the miners are hodling?
I think everybody is. I think now that it's just such a high price, it's like, you know, holy shit, these are $10,000 things, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was talking more on the development end with regard to the SegWit drama and the Lightning Network and the big blocks and all that business.
You know, I've been actually looking into Lightning Network, and I'm starting to kind of appreciate it. It's pretty decent software. I mean, it's all open source, and it's got some pretty reliable people working on it. So I'm starting to look at it more as like not necessarily Bitcoin relying on a third party, but more of it like using a library. Almost
like a,
you know, like the Verge,
like using a what?
Or like for the Boost library.
Oh, like a library. Okay, I'm sorry, I missed a word there.
A software library.
Yeah, you know, I can appreciate that perspective.
So the Lightning Network itself, but I still don't like the idea. You know, I just don't understand why we didn't increase the block size.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not worried about the fidelity of the software itself. What I'm more concerned with is when you read the paperwork and you listen to the presentations on it, they implicitly tell you that the only way it's really worthwhile to open a payment channel is if you have this shit ton of Bitcoin that you can afford to fund both ends until you fill up the payment channel and cover the TX fees.
Right. Yeah, the transaction fees are killing people right now.
Well, I mean, now imagine that in the context of a Lightning Network or opening up a payment channel. You know, so you're paying $20 to open the channel and $20 to close the channel. So you've got to clear $40 in transaction fees. That's a shit ton of transactions that you're going to have to hold in the payment channel, or you're going to have to hold back in closing the payment channel just to clear the transaction fees. And I mean, especially if you're trying to make it cheaper for your users.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when the whole block size debate first started, I wish that more of us were proactive then. Because, you know, we could have, but I often wonder what would Bitcoin be like right now if immediately after the block size debate started, they just went with 4 megabyte blocks and said, that's it, we're done.
Oh, I think we'd be
I often wonder where Bitcoin would be right now if that happened. Like, would Bitcoin Cash even exist? Would Bitcoin Gold even exist?
No,
right?
No, we'd be at about $30,000 a coin right now.
Probably 25 to 30K. That was what I was thinking too.
Yeah, I think the problem that most people weren't thinking about then and still aren't really thinking about is that when you do up the megabyte size from 1 to say 4 or even 8 megabytes, that's 4 to 8 times as many transactions. That's 4 to 8 times as many transaction fees.
Right. Yeah. So exactly. So the miners still win.
Yeah. So why not be a fucking miner and get in on that cash? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's bizarre to me. Like when the whole debate started, they should have just been like, let's quadruple block sizes, and then we'll have a whole decade to come up with an on-chain solution to handle even larger.
Yeah, well, I think that Bitcoin Cash is going to show that in the very short term that that we're going to see an increase in people wanting to actually transact with their crypto. And they're going to find out that they can't do it in Bitcoin worth of shit, and so they'll switch over to Bitcoin Cash or Ethereum or Dash or Litecoin. And I can't imagine what it's like for Core sitting there and watching all the fucking market share just slip through their fingers while they're sitting around saying, "We've got to go Segway and Lightning Network." Really?
Yeah, that's what we have to do. There's no other options.
Yeah. Yeah, and
like literally, you change one digit in the source code, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I know, and I think that's the most compelling argument I've been bringing people back to. Is like when they describe routing transactions and stuff like that. I'm like, is my grandmother gonna do that shit? Are you fucking kidding me? Scan, type in and send. That's Bitcoin right now. That's a Bitcoin transaction right now. Where's this? I gotta find a payment channel that I gotta go through the fee market, and what the fuck?
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah, I think it's really
it
good.
Just overcomplicated things. That was the one hard part about Bitcoin's success was its entry point and its user friendliness. Yeah. And everything just got so much more complicated.
Well, I think we kind of expected this sort of thing to happen. I don't know. It's kind of goofy. But now, what do you see on the horizon for Verge with regard to this stuff? Because you know damn well that if that legislation passes, people are going to be wanting to hide some monetary value.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. People have always been wanting to do that. That's why man created the safe. So I'm really looking forward to 2018 with Verge. I think that it's going to be a really good year because I've got a whole new battle plan on how to work with the marketing team and I think that we're really going to be set up early next year. We're really going to be set up for the most easiest point of sale transactions and actual adoptability for mainstream businesses. So I'm looking forward to 2018.
Yeah, with regard to that credit card option, I think that is going to be your biggest one right there. It's like getting somebody to switch over from regular radio to satellite radio. If they had the same interface that they had with previous radio, they don't really know or care about the difference. It's with regard to the credit card, it's something they've been using for the last 20 years to pay for shit. What's the difference whether or not it's if it's Verge or if it's US dollars or Chinese yen or whatever?
Yeah. A debit card is definitely a nice thing to have. To be able to just put coins into an account and then, boom, next thing you know, you have a prepaid card, right in your pocket, ready to go. So that's nice for mobility. And then, I have a lot of plans to update the Android wallet even further to where it has all of the stealth features and stuff built in. So. It'll have all the Wraith features plus Tor still built into it.
Well, now can you tell us some of just for the people that haven't gone to GitHub or the website, can you tell us some of the newer features that you have added with this Wraith protocol upgrade?
stealth addressing, and Tor built in. We have atomic swap capability, and we actually have somebody right now that's redesigning the GUI of the wallet. So I'm pretty excited to see what that looks like.
The G what wallet?
The GUI, the graphic user interface.
Oh, okay.
the appearance.
So is it basically the QT wallet or the Electrum wallet that they're updating?
Yeah, the QT wallet.
Nice. And so now, have you been doing anything with regard to like mining software or anything like that to kind of optimize it to make it easier for people to onboard with regard to mining?
Yeah, there's actually somebody that's been developing a really awesome miner program, and that'll be out shortly, along with our official Verge mining pool that'll have all the algorithms on it available. Nice. So mining is about to get even easier for Verge users.
And now I get this question a lot in the Telegram and also in IRC. Like, if somebody was to start off wanting to mine, what would you recommend is like the most optimal hardware route to go? Like GPUs or
I would tell them I would look to see what their budget is and try to get the most versatile GPU they can. Whether it's an AMD or an NVIDIA. And I would tell them to see what's in their budget. And also don't underestimate cheap cards. Sometimes if you want to spend $500 on a card, you might actually be better off buying 2 cards that cost $250 instead.
Wow. Yeah. And now with regard to GPU mining, you think that is the better route to go then, instead of like ASICs?
Yeah, I think so. Just because algorithms should and do keep changing. So I think GPU rigs are really where it's at because they're so versatile.
And now, I saw somewhere that I guess it was NVIDIA. They were predicting that they were going to be down for Q4, and apparently their sales are through the roof. Now, what's your read on that as far as like the future of GPU mining?
Well, I think AMD really started doing some cool stuff. I mean, I have their latest drivers that are specifically for blockchain mining. And I just installed those today, actually, because I got a bunch of nice GPUs a few months ago. And I've just been so busy with work, I haven't even had a chance to set them up for mining yet. So, yeah, it drives me nuts, man. I'm like sitting there staring at these 2 awesome GPUs and my desktop right in front of me. I'm just like, oh, I don't use those.
Yeah, you kind of glitch.
I just downloaded the driver from AMD for my RX 580s.
You're kind of glitchy there, dude.
What's that?
You were kind of glitchy there for a moment.
Yeah, I just downloaded the blockchain mining software that AMD has now, the driver for my 2 RX 580s. So I'm going to tinker with that a little bit tomorrow and see what kind of hash rates I can get. And, I'll probably post my results in the mining channel on the Discord.
Nice. Now, are those cards? I mean, are those cards headless or not?
What do you mean?
No video output.
There's video output. I have both monitors running off of one card, and then the other card is just they're cross-fired.
Oh, the only reason I asked that is one of them, NVIDIA or AMD, was working on headless mining cards. That they would be stripped down just for mining.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, they had to do something.
I've never built like a true mining rig that it just has a bunch of cards with no video output on it. But I would like to eventually build a really nice GPU rig. That's definitely on my plans for early next year.
On mine as well, sir. On mine as well. And so, like, how, with regard to mining, are you going to be expanding off of what you've got now, or do you just plan to just run it for kicks?
Well, I want to try to have a pretty serious setup. I want to try to get like a 6 or an 8 GPU setup. And I have it as a standalone miner and just try to throw it, every couple of days on whatever I think is, the best algorithm.
Nice. And so you're really hammering down with regard to trying to expand the mining output on the network, eh?
Yeah. Well, you know, it'd be really fun, I think, too, is I want to do a new experiment where I mine, and then I put all of the coins I mine into a time lock, you know, into the check lock time, so that I can't even access them for like a year. Kind of force myself to hodl.
Would you be willing to go so far as to put like a public key on it and so that people could watch it on the blockchain? See if you move the coins.
Maybe.
Oh, look, he dumped on us.
I don't really go out of my way to hide any of my stuff anyway. I mean, I usually share, you know, as much as I can in the chats when I'm talking to people.
Well, you know, I believe in Verge, and I constantly hodl it. I've been hodling it since I got it, and so it's like, for me, it's a little bit different. But I tell those guys in that Telegram chat room, don't be afraid to sell. Don't be afraid to take some fucking profit, man. I mean, if you're not in it to win it, then what the fuck are you in it for?
Well, yeah, I mean, markets are meant for buying and selling, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
prices go up and prices go down. I mean, that's just how it goes.
Yeah. If you don't sell it, nobody else can have it, and if they don't have it, it's not worth anything to them.
Well, when people ask me how to trade Bitcoin or how I trade Bitcoin, I say I put Bitcoin on the exchange and I sell it and I put a buy order in lower, and then when that gets filled, I sell that a little bit higher, and then I put another buy order in a little bit lower, and I just repeat.
That's exactly my strategy.
It works 100% of the time.
It does. Although
there's no predicting how long you'll wait to get your orders filled, but your orders will get filled.
They will eventually. Well, you know, yeah. I've said it on this show a million times that I've had sell orders and buy orders on Bittrex for like 12 months. So it's like, I mean,
yeah.
If it's worth it to you, if you really think it's going to get there, put it and leave it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you gotta be patient. You know, shit or get off the pot.
I couldn't agree more, sir. And that reminds me of another thing. Didn't you guys get medical this year in Florida there?
Yeah. Well, no, we got that last year, but I got my card this year.
Nice. And so, do you guys plan to be growing at all?
No, they haven't actually. Like, that's not part of the law. Like, we have dispensaries now, but we can't grow yet. But they're working on that. They're fighting that in court.
I certainly hope so, man. That's wrong.
I am going to be in Boston in a couple of weeks for a few days. So I know they just passed recreational. I think.
Oh, nice.
I think everybody's allowed to grow up to 12 plants there now.
Oh shit! That is so much pot. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
I think about the size plants we grow, man. I was watching Cervantes the other day, and he was walking through somebody else's garden. These fucking plants are like 10 feet tall. I mean, imagine growing 12 of those fucking things, man.
In Massachusetts, though, you really kind of have to do indoor because, you know, they don't really have a very, you know, they have like a 6-month winter, you know?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the East Coast. So what are you going to be in Boston for?
Just going to go see some family after Christmas.
Oh, nice. So it's nothing Verge related?
No. I mean, it might end up being that way. Who knows?
And I don't know. I cut you off in the middle of your talking about some of the features on Verge. I wanted to get you back around to that, but we were too far off into the bushes there. And so, what do you see? I mean, you've been in crypto almost as long, if not as long as I have. What do you see for 2018 ahead of us?
I see the same thing that I have every year with Verge. Is just, you know, slow, steady growth upward, and the community getting bigger and bigger, and the privacy features getting bigger and bigger, and you know, I think it's just going to keep going up.
And what would you say to, or to our detractors or supposed competitors with regard to the privacy space?
Well, I love the FUD. I love the trolling. It reminds me that I'm important and Verge is a big deal. And, let's keep it going.
Fuck yeah, man. So is there anything else you had for us today?
No, man. I just, I hope everybody's, going to have a safe, and, nice holidays, and I hope everybody's looking forward to the new year, and, I hope everybody's looking forward to the Wraith release, and, that's about it.
Let me see if, does Telegram have anything for us? I'm looking in the Telegram room right now to see if anybody's actually listening to this, and let's check in our IRC. And I don't know that I actually announced too much there. Huh? Doesn't even look like anybody is in IRC. That was a trip watching that kind of evolve over time. Was the whole, I don't know how to put this, the community as it was expanding in the IRC, and then from there to here in Telegram.
Well, now there's a chat on 8 different platforms. We have the Slack chat. We have multiple Slack chats. There's multiple Telegram rooms, Discord server full of channels, IRC. We have the Steam group chat. We have the subreddit, Facebook groups. It's just crazy. Verge is everywhere now.
Indeed, sir. Now, when you first started this, did you even envision that we would get to this place?
I knew that good things would come, but I had no idea what it would be like. I didn't realize that it would get this big and that it would have this many people involved so quickly. I thought that we'd be where we are right now in 10 years.
Wow. So
even though our rank in CoinMarketCap is 70 something, we're definitely in as far as numbers go and the size of the community, we're definitely in the top.
Indeed.
We've definitely got one of the largest communities.
Yeah, I'm just queuing them on Telegram. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with regard to the size of our community. But now, what would you say about the differences between our community and a lot of others that you've seen?
Well, most of the people in the Verge community aren't pretentious at all, so that's kind of nice. There's definitely a lot of really cool tech-oriented people, privacy-type people. So, that kind of stuff is really cool.
Yeah, I've always felt really at home as far as the different social media platforms that I've interacted with Verge people on, and like I said, I've always felt really at home as far as music tastes are relatively similar, although I know that not a lot of guys like metal, so.
Did I tell you I was reading an article and they said that usually people that like heavy metal, it's like a sign of intelligence.
I could agree with that. I can agree with that.
Yeah, they said that it was something like even though heavy metal's followers often look crazy, they actually have one of the highest intelligence groups or communities.
It's funny because a lot of the people that I knew in high school that were really, really, really hardcore metalheads, they're very, very successful people now. One of my friends, Darren Silverman, he's excellent guitarist back in the day in high school. He's a doctor now, and from what I understand, he's pretty successful surgeon. So,
well, that makes a lot of sense. Good with your hands.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that really drew me to Verge is that I've seen Verge as like a necessity in crypto for a very long time. Just the privacy aspect of it And I think really in now especially, I'm surprised that there aren't more people actually using Verge out there as a currency and as a means of moving monetary value around. Or maybe they are and we just don't know.
Well, I think a lot of the vendors are just businesses that are really smart and see the potential in Verge. So I think that they're going to start probably accepting Verge as payment and then just kind of holding on to it, which is a really good idea. You know, a lot of the look at a lot of the people who started accepting Bitcoin early. A lot of those guys were smart and held on to their coins.
Oh, absolutely. And I do have something from Ard in the Telegram here. He says a lot of people bitching about Dev and token pay. Not my question though. Just to ease the mob. What's this business about token pay?
Maybe he didn't pay attention to the first part of the show.
Oh, that's the
debit card thing.
Ah, okay. Why would they be bitching about you helping them out? Jesus Christ! You're trying to help us get into people's wallets.
Well, you know, there's probably a troll out there that was like, "Oh, Sunerok is leaving. Look, he's going somewhere else. Everybody dump your coins." And then next thing you know, somebody reads that and actually believes it and is like, "Oh my God, what is this?"
Yeah, like I said, I think I've seen pretty much everything in crypto except for somebody getting murdered over crypto. I mean, if they have been murdered over crypto, it wasn't like explicitly stated that it was about crypto.
I'm sure it's happened.
At least one, right?
Yeah, I'm sure at least once. It's scary.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny. I commented on an article about cryptocurrency, and I think it was about SegWit or something like that. And I'd even mentioned in there how I regularly get censored for mentioning, you know, things about SegWit or whatnot. And wouldn't you know it, they actually censored it. They actually deleted and they blocked me from viewing their future articles.
Oh,
I thought that was fucking hilarious. It's like, so we haven't ended the censorship campaign.
Yeah, people always tell me I should block all the troll accounts, and I'm like, no way, man. I'm like, I love reading this stuff.
Yeah, it wouldn't be crypto without trolls. I mean, really.
No, definitely not. Well, I mean, I actually experienced what trolling was like, you know, as far as that kind of stuff goes. Before Bitcoin even was, I tried my hand in penny stocks for a few months, and I would go on these like really big, well-known like announcement boards for penny stocks, and it was literally just like in crypto. Like you'd have all these troll accounts, you know, talking to like trying to pump, you know, pump shares, and so I mean, it's part of the market, you know, it's part of the game.
Yeah, I think that's something that people were kind of taken aback at first in like 2013, 2014, when some of the day traders were coming into our markets and extending their trading day, you know, where they would
exactly
where they would do that.
Yeah,
shit.
start teaming up and start trying to post really good stuff or post really bad stuff. And I mean, there was a time where that stuff worked. I mean, now it's like, you know, 2 or 3 Twitter accounts with like 4 followers isn't going to do shit. But, you know, 5 years ago in crypto, that it could.
Oh, yeah, you could definitely move a market with just a little bit of pressure. I mean, I can remember in Cryptsy when the troll box was enough to move a market. And
yeah, exactly.
But I mean, like, how many times I sat there and I watched it for a while before I started trading based on the information that I was seeing there. And after a while, I figured out that if I just trade opposite of everything they were saying, I would make way more money.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Indeed, sir. So, with regard to Florida now, and this was a source of a delay for us earlier in the year, and I swear, dude, I explained it to so many people. You know, Florida was like basically partially scrubbed with hurricanes, and you were like in the middle of that trying to develop Wraith. I mean, like, how together are they down there now?
Things are a lot better. There's still, a few areas of the city that they haven't cleaned up yet that have like debris. But most houses now they've picked up, as of like a week ago or so. They've picked up most of like the debris in front of houses.
Nice. And so like
basically afterwards, like after all the turmoil, everybody pretty much put like all the downed trees and stuff in their front lawn against the curb. And slowly over a few months, the city came around and picked everything up.
Wow.
I think they turned it into mulch.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I think they actually turned it all into mulch.
Turn it into mulch. Well, they got to do something to replace all that topsoil they lost with that storm.
Yeah, it's nuts. Well, I mean, our soil here is like half sand anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I bitch about the soil here because it's mostly clay. I mean, the topsoil up where I am here, you got about 3 inches and then it's clay.
Wow. What color is it? Is it like that, like brownish, reddish color, or is it like gray?
It's deep brown. When you get it wet, it's like fudge.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, it's not nutrient deficient or anything like that. And it's funny because it's too acidic at first, but if you expose it to the air for like a year or two, it'll grow in richer than any other spot on your lawn. And it's just because
nice.
Yeah, it takes a little while for the acidity to wear off of it and the nitrogen to get released out of the soil. But it also helps if you churn it up. I took a rototiller, and I had to flatten a spot for my greenhouse last year, and
yeah,
dude, it sucked. I mean, because when I first started digging, I was digging my flower bed, and I dug it 20 feet long by 5 feet wide by 18 inches deep, and it was all clay. And I exported all this clay out to one particular area of the lawn, and when I look at it now, man, it's already starting to just bush up and have the greenest spot on the lawn.
Oh wow. That's kind of awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't have a whole lot of stuff in it other than like the biologicals. It's like it has like a lot of dead material and whatnot, but most of the topsoil up here is derived from dead fish being carried up on the hills from like coyotes and shit like that for years and years and years and years. And so,
wow.
Yeah, but I mean, for the most part, you just got to till it really good, and it's some of the most fertile land on planet Earth.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Indeed, so. So how's fatherhood treating you?
Can't complain. It's nice this time of year. It's like it finally gets down into like the low 70s.
Indeed, nice.
Instead of like 90 to 100 every day.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that makes things a little bit tougher around there.
Yeah, man, the sun is brutal down here.
Well, I mean, you got to pay for the heavens somehow. I mean.
Well, I gotta get going pretty soon.
All right, sir. Well, we'll go
almost
ahead.
Midnight here.
We'll go ahead and let you off now. But thank you very much for joining us, man. I really appreciate coming on and taking your time and giving us an update.
Of course, I try to listen every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Well, thank you very much, good sir. I do appreciate the support. And with that, we'll go ahead and close out with Mr.Sunerok. Shift it on back on over to music, and as far as what to move into, you got any suggestions, good sir?
Do you have any old Faith No More?
No, I don't, but you know what? I'm going to have to add that to my list, because I do like me some Faith No More.
Let's go with some Slayer.
Slayer! Yes, we can definitely do that. Slayer, God hates us all. Where is it?
There we go.
And where is it? God hates us all. You know, that's not actually a song on here, but God Send Death is. So let's go for it. God Send Death. We're going to see Mr.Sunerok out with it here on Coin Metal.
Woo!
Well, thank you very much, man. That was cool.
Nice.
I hope
that was a good time.
Yeah. So, was there anything that you wanted to get to that we didn't talk about?
No, that actually went pretty good. I'm glad that we were able to kind of improv.
Yeah, you know, I like to freeball it. I think if we have any expectations, it's too much.
Yeah, too much pressure on both of us.
Indeed, man. Oh, and as far as good concerts coming, I guess Meshuggah's coming back to Portland soon.
Sick.
Yes.
Who are they playing with?
You know, I didn't even look at that, but I guess it's in early 2018. Let me finish this really quick here. Get rid of this TGIF tag and change that from First Dance to... And so what do you think of the show so far, man?
Good, definitely. It's awesome.
I'm doing what I can, man. I've been trying to enhance my listenership by reposting some of my older shows in application to current events that are going on, like Senate Bill 1241. Max Kaiser is just now starting to find that. I fucking covered that thing like 6 months ago, and so yeah. It's
pretty funny. Well, you're always reading, man. You're always a step ahead.
Well, I try to be, man. I figure if I'm going to deliver anything on this show, it should be something new. Indeed.
It's got to be frustrating for you, like reading everything before everyone else does, and just watching everybody like just go with the flow, and then all of a sudden they realize what happened like after the fact.
Well, you know, I think I might have actually caught Segregated Witness and Lightning Network a little bit ahead of time, but like I touched on this on the show, but like seriously, even in all the presentations that I watched this one the other day where, you know, they had this diagram up, and there's 3 parties on there with Alice, Bob, and Carol, right? And Alice is trying to do a transaction to Carol, and she's got to pump it through Bob, right? And when the guy was presenting this, he's like, now let's just say you've got somebody, a really rich user, he's got a lot of Bitcoin. Oh, that's Bob. And that's where I came up with Bob as a bank, is because if you just take away all the bullshit and you say, okay, I've got a designated transaction processor already. He's got established physical locations all over planet Earth. He's got fucking ATMs everywhere that could just as easily be miners or nodes on my network. And, you know, I mean, really, it doesn't take too much work to figure it out that the Lightning Network business, it's not necessarily what they've been panning it as.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, the software itself is pretty decent. I was looking at it today.
Well, yeah, and you know, go ahead.
It sucks that it's going to be required.
I'm sorry, what?
Just sucks that it's going to be required. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's my biggest objection to it, is that these guys that are going to be processing thousands and thousands and thousands of transactions, there's only going to be very few of them, and they're all going to be competing for block space. What do you think that's going to do to transaction fees?
It's going to make them go up through the roof.
Yeah. I throw that at people all the time. We're talking about transaction fees in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. You know, and
dude, I mean, somebody was saying that the average transaction fee could cost like 10 to 15% of the amount.
Are you kidding me? I'm paying 50% now, dude. The last
50%?
Yeah, the last transaction I did, the last standard transaction I did, I paid $22 between the fucking ATM fee and the goddamn the miner fee on $40.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Dude.
Jesus.
Why do you think I was talking about making competition for the fucking ATM, dude? I mean, I think I could fit a profitable fee somewhere.
From what I heard, the ATM fees are like 10%.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. And that's not even counting the arbitrage. There's always some sort of arbitrage between when I start the transaction and when the transaction actually clears. And so it's like...
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I sat there and watched $90 worth of fucking arbitrage take place between when I started the transaction and when I got my first confirmation an hour and a half later.
Jesus.
Yeah, dude. And so, you know, it's like... that you want to talk about what makes it frustrating for me? That's what makes it frustrating for me, dude. Is that these people tell me I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, and I'm going through that. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? I look at CoinDance, and it tells me the reason why that is. There's 8,000 fucking regular, 8,000 core nodes, and there's only 500 Bitcoin Unlimited or Bitcoin Classic nodes. You know, or the ones that are doing the traditional transactions. So that means that 90% of the network of nodes is blocking my transaction and treating it as spam.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think that does to fucking the fees and shit?
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah. I think that we're going to hit an inflection point in a very, very short period of time, and I think that Bitcoin Cash is probably one of the best things to happen with regard to this, because it's showing the market. They're like, what does 8 megabyte fucking blocks look like? That's what it fucking looks like. It looks like, you know, blocks that aren't completely full, but still profitably enough, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And cheap transactions. Cheap, fast transactions. The way it's supposed to be.
Oh shit. Hey, I gotta run. My girl's gonna kill me.
Alright, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll catch up with you later.
Alright, man. Later on. And that was Rational Gaze by Meshuggah. It was very, very nice to have Mr. VergeDev on. It's been a while. Been wanting to talk to him a bit, especially after I saw that the credit card thing. I think that it's pretty darn awesome, really. I think that I've been wanting something like that for a long time for Verge, where I would be able to spend my Verge as quote unquote money, you know, and it's just encouraging to see that starting to come around now. It's certainly a lot quicker than I had anticipated. I didn't understand I didn't understand enough of how the government does its thing, you know, and as far as like how they would view cryptocurrencies, you know, and that kind of held me up as far as like what I anticipated for how they would react to cryptocurrencies here in the US. I mean, we've seen it play out now in a few other countries, you know, Russia, China, Venezuela, and they've all been along the predictable route. And personally, I'm expecting that if we do have that what is it, SB 1241, if that thing actually passes, which I strongly suggest to you all to go back to my YouTube channel and go through that and scroll down to toward the bottom, and I believe it's in July. I want to say it's right there around the McAfee interview. I did a live read of SB 1241, and so if you were interested in understanding a little bit more about the text of that and what exactly it is that they're talking about regulating, that would be the place to check. I also did another live read of a piece of legislation that, for whatever reason, nobody is paying attention to yet. It took me 3 fucking days to read the whole thing, but I did it. I did a front to back complete live read of it, and if you're at all interested in how governments actually view us and how they want to address us here in the cryptosphere here in the U.S., I would strongly suggest listening to them. And, they're not all bad. I did my best to game them up, But here it is for August 7th, 2017. I read HB 3364. And, again, that did occupy 3 whole shows. But it was worth reading it. Especially when we figured out who the alien was. I had to name it something funny because I kept running across this word in there, alien. I'm like, who are they referring to when they're talking about an alien under my control? What the fuck? It's got to be Vitalik Buterin. Anyway, while we were talking to Mr. VergeDev, Mr. Sunerok, he alluded to this article, and I had intended on reading it today. I actually had it open in a tab on my browser. And so here it is. It's on Cointelegraph. And this one's by David Dinkins. Clearly from the picture and the name, yes, penis. Another first. SEC filed emergency order to freeze assets of fraudulent ICO. Woo! The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission today proved how serious they are about prosecuting scam ICOs by filing an emergency asset freeze against Plex Corps. Owners Dominic LaCroix and Sabrina Royer were also targeted by the order. The SEC describes LaCroix as recidivist Quebec securities law violator. The scam. According to a press release, which we are going to click on right now, from the SEC, and you know what? Let's go ahead and finish this article first, and then we'll dive into the SEC's thing. Plex Corp engaged in an ICO this past August, which promised investors in Plexcoin a 1,354% return in just 29 days. Fuck yeah, I throw my money at that. The ICO raised about $15 million from thousands of investors. The SEC is seeking significant penalties. Quote, the complaint seeks permanent injunctions, disgorgement plus interest and penalties for LaCroix. The SEC also sends an officer and director bar and a bar from offering digital securities against LaCroix and Royer. Also a security. The SEC directly referred to Plexcoin as a security, saying, quote, LaCroix and Plex Corp marketed and sold securities called Plexcoin to the internet to investors in the U.S. and elsewhere. More specifically, quote, the SEC complaint charges LaCroix, Royer, and Plex Corp for
violating the anti-fraud provisions, and LaCroix and Plexcorp are with violating the registration provision of the U.S. federal security laws. So they didn't register as a security, so we're busting them for being a security without registry. SEC Cyber Unit. Cointelegraph previously reported on the SEC's creation of a cyber unit, which we are also clicking on, to combat ICO frauds. These are the first charges filed by the new unit. Robert Cohen, head of the cyber unit, stated, quote, "This first cyber unit case hits all of the characteristics of a full-fledged cyber scam and is exactly the kind of misconduct the unit will be pursuing. We acted quickly to protect retail investors from this initial coin offering's false promises." No surprise. It's no surprise that the SEC is taking such things seriously. This summer, the commission ruled that the infamous Ethereum-based the DAO sale was actually a securities offering, though they declined to press charges. Actually, they couldn't. ICOs are the, quote, Wild West of the financial markets, where erstwhile securities issuers hide behind disclaimers and play fast and loose with the rules. There have been allegations of insiders gaining undue advantages, and even outright accusations of scams, but this is the first formal action the SEC has taken against ICO issuers. And you know what, SEC? You really don't have any business in it. I mean, if there were anything in cryptocurrencies that I would define as a derivative or a quote-unquote security, it would be an ERC20 token ICO. And now, I will also say any other quote-unquote derivative thereof. I mean, like, there are instances of something similar to the DAO that isn't the DAO. But anyway, with regard to ICOs and ERC20 tokens, if they're derivative of another coin, or they're derivative on the expectation of value of a coin, I would classify them as securities and possibly something that the SEC can touch. However, this is where I differ with that whole thesis. And it's in this, that with regard to the SEC, they regulate things that have to do with the Federal Reserve Note. So markets that are denominated in Federal Reserve notes, not Ethereum tokens, not Bitcoin, not Ripple or anything else like that. Legal tender, US dollars, Federal Reserve notes. So, stick within those markets, SEC. You want to make a cyber unit to observe and report, whatever. That's fine. But you know what? Where we get into trouble here is where we stop taking responsibility for our losses and try and foist it onto a non-existent federal entity. It is not the federal government's responsibility to hold my hand and say, don't invest in this. Don't invest in this, Frank. You should put your money over here in this nice, cozy, CD or some other fucking bond or some shit. It's not your job. It's not your job to sit there and tell me which Pokemon to buy, or which Pokemon cards to buy, or which Magic the Gathering cards to buy. So, or baseball cards, or vintage wines, or cognac, or fast cars, or vintage cars, or any of that other shit. So it is not your job to evaluate my investments. I mean, you've taken that job upon yourself, but we've seen in legacy markets again and again and again that all the fucking market participants do is abuse your regulations to their advantage. That's it. That's fucking it. You know, your reporting requirements, they use them as a fucking umbrella so that they can keep getting away with shit during the 28-day window that they have before they have to report the shit. That gives them plenty of time to alert all their insiders, say, sell, 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 sell. It gives them plenty of opportunity to set up short orders before then. And so they make money on the short as all their insider investors evacuate their winnings. And then we get to it after it's lost 85% of its value. Then you report to us that some fuck happened about 45 days ago and this company lost the records of 300 million Americans. And then we react to it having lost 85% of our value because the insiders already got the fuck out before we woke up. And you want to tell me that that's safer than what we have in cryptocurrency? I beg to differ, sir. I beg to differ. Because in crypto, when the shit happens, when the bad shit happens, we find out about it. We find out about it way ahead of you. You've got like 8 layers of bureaucracy between you and the market. Now, I know the Federal Reserve has their little trading room and their little red phone that they can call down to the trading floor and say, buy oil, sell oil, whatever. We know that. They've already admitted to having that. But the what we have in cryptocurrencies is everybody eyeballing that shit 24/7. And so when the bad thing happens, it's leaked. It's, you know, some innuendo, some omission, some indication that something isn't quite right breezes through the Twitter sphere or on Facebook or on Snapchat or Instagram or fucking Telegram or Discord or IRC or somewhere. Somebody says something on Reddit, and we've seen that. We've actually reported on that on this show, how one little fucking post on Reddit, and we've seen it twice now, where one fucking post on Reddit was enough to initiate the authorship of like 20 fucking articles from CNBC or, you know, MSNBC and fucking CNN and Forbes, and all these fuckers came out from everywhere. They got an opinion on Bitcoin from one fucking Reddit post. I think it was the one about exchanges closing in China or being closed in China. No, it was the miner one. Where they were like, oh, you know, we're going to shut down miners. No, that's not going to happen. That was one mistranslated memo, supposedly, or it's been explained away as being that. Now, you have to wonder about the veracity of that story. It could very well be that the story was 100% legit. You know, some motherfucker in the CBOC threw down the hammer and said, we've had enough of this mining shit. You guys are abusing this free electricity. You're fucking with us. You're not cutting us in enough. Whatever it was, we're shutting you fuckers down. That happened. I would almost guarantee that happened. And then they looked at what happened to the fucking market in response to that, where they just said, oh, what? China having fit? China's having a fit? We'll just step away from you, China. You have the fit. You figure it out. We're just going to kind of like circumnavigate you. When they closed down ICOs, did the Chinese traders stop trading ICOs? No. I didn't expect them to. Would you? You got the hot money ticket being traded right in front of you. You gonna watch all that money travel by in front of you? Hell no! You'd be dipping your paw in that river, trying to scoop some of that lucre. You know, and don't pretend like you wouldn't. But it's funny to me where we watch these markets just go completely bananas, and we enjoy every fucking second of it. And then somebody comes along and they say, oh, we gotta regulate this. They don't know what they're looking at. They don't know what we're doing. They just know that they're not in on it. And rather than just get in on it and say, well, gosh, why am I not in on this? They take offense. Why are these people in on this? You're a bunch of fucking drug dealers. Pedophiles. We gotta bust them. Gotta monitor everything they do. And it's hilarious to me because we have some of the most transparent markets in the entire fucking planet. The Bitcoin blockchain allows for a level of transparency that has never been known in currency ever. Ever. I want you to say it with me. Ever. Ever. And I think that's something that's really lost on a lot of people. You know, it's like we had gold. There was always a period where the gold was out of your sight, so you never really knew whether the guy that had the door with the gold behind it had the gold behind the door, or had your gold behind the door. You just knew that when you came with your weekly tally stick and you said, hey, you know, I like my gold so I can go down to the saloon, maybe have a drink or two with the boys, and they would give it to you. And oh, hey, cool. You know, the gold is there, so everything is cool. But then one day the gold wasn't there, and then that wasn't cool. But there was always that period where you didn't know whether or not the gold was there. I mean, and as long as the gold was there, when you went to go get it, everything was cool. But then they started giving you IOUs. They're like, oh, well, you know, we don't have the gold. The gold shipment was a little bit slow. You know, maybe a train got robbed, or, you know, a stagecoach got robbed or some shit like that. And we've got a minor delay on the gold supply. So go ahead and spend these IOUs. They'll still take them at the saloon. They'll still take them at the general store. Everything will be cool. And that period went on and on and on. And after a while, everybody's like, well, you know, I want to cash these IOUs in. I want my motherfucking gold. Let us see the gold. And that's what we call a bank run. But there has never been a more transparent currency than Bitcoin. It's like, think about gold, and we're most readily compared to gold, right? We do not know the complete and total supply of gold on planet Earth. We have estimates. I mean, for all we know, you dig a hole down to the mantle of the Earth, and you let some of that magma spout up through the surface, and it turns into gold when it's exposed to oxygen. We don't know. Although we'd probably deflate the planet if that were the case. Point being, we don't know the total volume of gold on planet Earth. We do not know the total volume of gold above ground. We have estimates. We can project annual yields, but we don't have certainty what they will be until we sum up at the end of the year. Or the quarter, however they determine that. But there's a time interval of indeterminacy there. And this is one of the reasons why I tell you that you can't combine cryptocurrencies with these other things. Because you can have, proven reserves of something, but it's never exactly how much you think it is. And you could have done all the scans and all that other bullshit. For all you know, it was some sort of liquefied gas or some shit that was occupying the same zone as the oil. And so your estimates of what the oil below the ground were off. So there again, you can't be basing your cryptocurrency on the oil because you don't know how much oil there is. You might know how much cryptocurrency there is. You might know the actual rate of issuance, the time duration between issuance intervals. You might know all of that shit. But you don't know the same thing for gold. You don't know the same thing for oil. And so again, we have never had a more transparent system than cryptocurrencies. And Bitcoin is, of course, the lead. I don't know that it will remain the lead. It's questionable at the moment. I think that after a while they will get their heads out of their asses and expand the block size. Because it's obvious to me, at least, from the volume of transactions that are actually SegWit. I mean, it looked like they're picking up a little bit. I won't lie. But it's still not something where everybody wants to use it. I don't want to use it because I know what it's for. It's for doing things off-chain. That's the only reason that doing SegWit makes any sense. And from what I can tell, the off-chain shit includes a bank or some other well-financed third-party intermediary, which Bitcoin was made specifically to operate without. And so, that's where I have the problem with Bitcoin at the moment. That for whatever reason, and I've seen the blame deflected so many billions of ways that I can't possibly count them. Somebody wants the SegWit. And they will push and push and push until they've got the SegWit. Do all kinds of games to get the SegWit. So you got to wonder, and I keep getting blocked and deleted and downvoted and all that other shit when I bring this stuff up. So you got to ask yourself, what the fuck are these people hiding that they cannot even endure basic questions about what they're talking about? And more times than not, I find out the people that I'm talking to about it, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I got in some Twitter back and forth that lasted, I think, 6 hours between me and somebody else. And it came down to, I go, you don't even know what SegWit is for, do you? And that just ended the conversation. Because they didn't know what the fuck SegWit is for. They just know that their friends say that we need the SegWit. And that's what Sunerok was referring to, is that I have done a lot of the reading. And as a matter of fact, I've done a lot of it here on this show. So, I mean, if that tells you anything, that's part of the reason I do this show, is to fucking educate myself on this stuff. Try and stay abreast of what's going on. I do that on my own, but I don't know. I think sharing my discovery and perspective with those that are potentially new to this space, I think it may be instructive, or at least something to readily avoid. I don't know. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down some music. We have waited quite a while since we've done that. And then we're going to dive back into this SEC business, because I do actually have a couple tabs dedicated specifically to it. And we haven't played any suicidal tendencies on here and for like ever. And I don't know. Let's go with Hearing Voices. So this is off of How Will I Laugh Tomorrow If I Can't Even Smile Today. Here it is, Hearing Voices by Suicidal Tendencies, here on Coin Metal. Sorry about that, I let that run a little bit over long. But that was Helmet with Unsung. Oi. And so with regard to Helmet, haven't heard much about them or from them. When I typed at Helmet, I didn't actually get the band. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know if they're in hiatus or they're touring or haven't the slightest clue. Anyway, I saw this thing, and this is just a quick mention here. I think you guys will find this very interesting. This is from CBOE.com. CBOE plans December 10th of Bitcoin futures trading. Chicago, December 4th, 2017. CBOE Global Markets. CBOE, NASDAQ, CBOE, one of the world's largest exchange holding companies, today announced that CBOE Futures Exchange, CFE, plans to offer trading in Bitcoin futures beginning at 5 p.m. Central Time on Sunday, December 10th, at the start of global trading hours. Monday, December 11th, will be the first full day of trading, and trading will be free through December. That's interesting. And this fee waiver applies to all CFE transaction fees for XBT futures in December of 2017. Click here to view full press release. Well, bam. Let's check this bad boy really quick. Oh, cool. CBOE plans December 10th launch of Bitcoin futures trading. Blah 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 blah. Let's see, we got all that. CBOE's Bitcoin futures will trade on CFE under the ticker symbol XBT. XBT futures are cash-settled contracts based on Gemini's auction price for Bitcoin denominated in US dollars. Gemini Trust Company, LLC, is a digital asset exchange and custodian that allows customers to buy, sell, and store digital assets such as Bitcoin. XBT futures are specifically designed to allow participants to implement straightforward trading strategies through settlement to a single tradable auction price. Ed Tilley, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of CBOE Global Markets, said, quote, "Given the unprecedented interest in Bitcoin, it is vital that we provide clients the trading tools to help them express their views and hedge their exposure. We are committed to encouraging fairness and liquidity in the Bitcoin market. To promote this, we will initially offer XBT futures trading for free." Tyler Winklevoss, Chief Executive Officer of Gemini, said, "Developing a regulated derivatives market is the next logical and critical step towards advancing the broader digital asset market. We have been working for years to build infrastructure to grow the digital asset market, and today's news marks a significant milestone." On Friday, December 1st, CBOE announced that CFE had filed a product certification with the Commodities Futures Trading Commission to offer Bitcoin futures trading. More information on XBT futures is available at CBOE.com, which we are not going to follow up on, I don't think. Over the past 5 years, the total value of all Bitcoin outstanding, i.e. market capitalization, has grown from less than 1 billion to over 183 billion, with a daily notional turnover of 10 billion. With the total value of all cryptocurrency tokens outstanding is now approximately $332 billion. About CBOE Global Markets Inc. CBOE Global Markets Inc., NASDAQ CBOE, is one of the world's largest exchange holding companies, offering cutting-edge trading and investment solutions to investors around the world. The company is committed to relentless innovation, connecting global markets with world-class technology and providing seamless solutions that enhance the customer experience. CBOE offers trading across a diverse range of products in multiple asset classes and geographies, including options, futures, U.S. and European equities, exchange-traded products, global FX, and multi-asset volatility products based on the CBOE Volatility Index, the VIX Index, the world's barometer for equity market volatility. Yeah. Well, I think this is interesting, but I don't know what this is going to mean for us as far as cryptocurrency is concerned. The miners are still going to charge what they're going to charge for Bitcoin. The availability of Bitcoin is going to possibly continue to decline, because according to Sunerok, the amount of available liquidity in coins is actually in decline. I'm sure that trading fees has something to do with it. We were talking a little bit offline, and I may actually include that narrative. It wasn't like we actually covered anything that was particularly controversial to us, with the exception of the outrageous fucking transaction fee that I paid on the last Bitcoin transaction that I did. I mean, it was enough to make me seriously consider using Bitcoin Cash. And, you know, let that be a message to you in the those of you who are deving for Bitcoin. This shit is costing you people market share. I don't know if you understand that or not. You know, because without us, you know, we're the demand for the Bitcoin. And without us, there's no reason to use the Bitcoin. You see how that works? You know, that I don't think it's something that you can really afford to piss on people that are using Bitcoin Cash, because what they're telling you is that they don't like the SegWit. They don't like this whole off-chain business as the future direction of Bitcoin. And I think it's really time to come to terms with that and understand what the market is really telling you. There is a shift away from you. You know, when I look at the price chart, does it have it on this? Yeah, here we go. I'm looking at the price chart here for Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Ethereum. And with regard to Bitcoin Cash, I can see liquidity that should probably be in Bitcoin. And I think that over this next Christmas and the term thereafter, we're going to see an increasing interest in Bitcoin Cash. And it'll be because they have 8 megabytes worth of block space. And that means they have much cheaper transaction fees. And that's going to be enough to drive people away. You know, this whole scheme that you got, that you're going to push all the transactions offline and you're just going to steal everybody's Bitcoin and give them a bunch of fucking IOUs instead and charge them so much to withdraw their fucking Bitcoin that they won't ever withdraw their Bitcoin. They'll just suck off of the residuals that they get on the additional value as the economy transitions from fiat to cryptocurrency. And you know, you'll either be happy with it or you'll be sad. But either way, you won't be getting your Bitcoin back. Because it'll probably cost you at least the volume of your Bitcoin in transaction fees to withdraw it. And I don't think this is a connection that a lot of people are making. You know, I discussed this with Sunerok, and I don't know if it was during the period before the music break or during the music break. Either way, I'll review it and determine whether I'll include. I'm pretty sure I will. Just I'll include it in the video that I post. But we were talking about this, how transaction fees and the congestion on the network and whatnot that is causing that shit to go up, how it is driving market share away from Bitcoin. It's not good. I think Bitcoin, if back when this conversation about SegWit had started, if we had been more vocal about wanting bigger blocks, that we would have bigger blocks, and Bitcoin would be about $30,000 a fucking Bitcoin right now. I'm dead serious. And we were talking about it between 4 and 8 megabytes. And either way, if we had just expanded it to 4 megabytes and just said, fuck it, that's going to give us time to suck up some adoption, it's going to give us time to have some people come over to us, and it'll definitely maintain our market share for now, enough for us to find a more suitable on-chain scaling schema. And like I said, Bitcoin would be about $30,000 a fucking Bitcoin right now. I'll tell you one thing. We wouldn't have had the fall off that we did with regard to number of participants mining. I guarantee you, all y'all that used to mine, and you look in the corner or in your closet and you can still see your mining rigs, those are still viable units. You could be using them to mine alts, potentially even Bitcoin Cash, or Verge, as the case may be. But the point being that if they were, imagine that if there were 4 times as much room for transactions, that's 4 times as much transactions, that's 4 times as many transaction fees. So what? You don't make your Bitcoin on solving the block first. You make enough in fees for it to be worthwhile to you. And Satoshi even talked about this. He talked about it in terms of a lot longer scale. And what he was talking about with regard to the future development of Bitcoin, he envisioned that mining would be going on the entire fucking time. That it wouldn't be some bullshit settlement layer. That we would be mining Bitcoin right up to the last one, and then after that, after 140 years have gone by, after the last Bitcoin has been mined, then we would be transitioning to feeding on just transaction fees. And by then, Bitcoin would be worth enough for you to be getting by on just a teeny tiny number of Satoshis. And this was how he envisioned it going forward. And that's why it's got 8 decimal places to the right. I don't understand why people don't pick up on this. That if the blocks were bigger, you could multiply the number of transactions that you could fit in them by whatever multiple. So if it's 2 megabytes, that's twice as many transactions. If it's 4 megabytes, that's 4 times as many transactions. If it's 8 megabytes, that's 8 times as many transactions. If it's 16 megabytes, it's 16 times as many transactions being put in each block than there is right now. Now, why wouldn't that be good for every single participant in the Bitcoin sphere to have 16 megabytes worth of block space to stuff your transaction in? It would drop miner fees down through the floor. I mean, because they would have 16 times as much transaction space to put your fucking transaction into. So, of course, it might not be divisible by 16. It might only be divisible by 12. But the point being is it'll be a lot cheaper than it is now. So, for me, I paid a really significant transaction fee last time around. I would have gladly paid 1/16 of it. I would have gladly paid 1/12 of it. Maybe even 1/10. That would have made me very, very, very happy. Because I would have gotten that much more back to spend. And that would have made some vendor happy because it would have made that much more money off of me. You see how that whole thing works? That incentivizes more people to be vendors. And of course, on the mining end, it incentivizes people to be miners. And if we have more miners, then we have a far more secure network, and probably a much more valid Bitcoin blockchain. I mean, that's how this whole thing is supposed to work. You're supposed to be mining out of desire to maintain the fidelity of the network, to support which version of the protocol that you want run on the network, or to be dominant on the network, or to be the protocol for the network. And you're supposed to be providing security and validity to the blockchain. And if you're not driving toward those things, and I think this market distortion that we've seen since 2015 by the introduction of the SegWit and the pursuers thereof, that since then we've seen the incentive structure completely fucked around. And that's one of the many reasons why transaction fees are so high. They shouldn't even be over $1 right now. I don't give a fuck how much money you're moving. They shouldn't even be over $1 right now. But they are over $1 because we've been experiencing fuckery. And the real problem is that too little of the Bitcoin community, or cryptocurrency community, I should say, just talks. They don't do enough, quote, participation. And when I'm talking about participation, I'm not talking about making a neat little website presentation for your coin or some shit like that. I mean, like, developing a marketplace where these currencies are being used as money. You want to talk about something that will add depth to the market. You want to talk about something that will even out some of the volatility. Hey man, when I am buying and selling stuff in Bitcoin, it's important to me what the price is going to be, because I got to be buying in and out of it. I got to be exchanging it for goods and services and whatnot. So I'm watching when the most opportune time to exchange is. And unfortunately, I've experienced some of that on the ATM end, where I've seen a significant amount of arbitrage occur between when I initiated the transaction and when my transaction actually got its first confirmation. I mean, a significant amount of slippage to where when you calculate in the percentage of the transaction fee, it cost me a great deal more than it should have. Because the transaction fee was calculated at one value, and then the value jumped to another value, and I lost money. Anyway, I wanted to get back into this SEC filing business. Although, was that the thing that we were really jumping onto? Yeah, SEC. And so, we covered this Cointelegraph article. And so the SEC announces creation of cyber unit. Yeah, that's something to cover after their announcement. But let's go to the SEC's site and cover their press release. And this one it's titled Oh, this is on sec.gov. SEC emergency action halts ICO scam. And there is no author, or at least none indicated. For immediate release, 2017 through 2019. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know. Washington, D.C., December 4th, 2017. The Securities and Exchange Commission today announced it obtained an emergency asset freeze to halt a fast-moving initial coin offering fraud that raised up to $15 million from thousands of investors since August by falsely promising a 13-fold profit in less than a month. The SEC filed charges against recidivist Quebec securities law violator Dominic LaCroix and his company, PlexCorps. The Commission's complaint, filed in federal court in Brooklyn, New York, alleges that LaCroix and PlexCorp marketed and sold securities called PlexCoin on the internet to investors in the U.S. and elsewhere, claiming that investments in PlexCoin would yield a 1,354% profit in less than 29 days. The SEC also charged LaCroix's partner, Sabrina Royer, in connection with the scheme. Today's charges are the first filed by the SEC's new cyber unit. The unit was created in September to focus on the Enforcement Division's cyber-related enterprise on misconduct involving distributed ledger technology and initial coin offerings, the spread of false information through electronic and social media, hacking, and threats to trading platforms. Pfft. You fucking dropped the ball on that one. The fucking SEC's Edgar system got hacked. This first cyber unit case hits all of the characteristics of a full-fledged cyber scam and is exactly the kind of misconduct the unit will be pursuing, said Robert Cohen, chief of the cyber unit. Quote, "We acted quickly to protect retail investors from this initial coin offering's false promises." Dude, did they have an opportunity to redeem themselves? Did they yield 1,400% profit in fucking 30 days? Did they have 30 days? I don't know. Based on this filing, the SEC obtained an emergency court order to freeze the assets of PlexCorps, LaCroix, and Royer. The SEC's complaint charges LaCroix, Royer, and PlexCorps with violating the anti-fraud provisions and LaCroix and PlexCorp with violating the registration provision of the U.S. federal securities laws. The complaint seeks permanent injunctions, disgorgement plus interest and penalties. For LaCroix, the SEC also seeks a officer and director bar and a bar from offering digital securities against LaCroix and Royer. The Commission's investigation was conducted by Daphne A. Waxman, David H. Tudor, and Jorge G. Tenriero of New York Regional Office and Cyber Unit, with the assistance of the agency's Office of Internal Affairs. The case is being supervised by Valerie A. Shispanic and Mr. Cohen. Shispanic. Yes, Valerie. The Commission appreciates the assistance of Quebec's Autorité des Marchés Financiers. The SEC's Office of Investor Education and Advocacy issued an investor alert in August, warning investors about scams of companies claiming to be engaging in initial coin offerings. And as a matter of fact, I'm damn certain that we've actually read that on this show. So there you have it. The SEC's blah, 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 blah. Oh, and related, we've got the SEC's complaint. Oh, Jesus Christ, it's 35 pages. Summary. Yeah. let's see. From August 2017 through the present. Blah, 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 blah. Material false. Let's see how long the summary is. Because I can read the summary, but I'm not going to read the entire fucking thing. I mean, let's see here. Let's see. I'm just checking to see how long the actual summary is. And, yeah. I'm not going to, I'll read the first page or two because these seem kind of pertinent and relevant to our investigation thus far. And this is on the SEC.gov webpage, and so if you would like to read the entirety, it is posted in relation to this. Plaintiffs' Securities and Exchange Commission for its complaint against defendants Plex Corp, blah, 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 SidePay, blah, 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 Plex Corp, Dominic LaCroix, Sabrina Royer, collectively defendants, alleges as follows. Number one, this is an emergency action to stop LaCroix, a recidivist securities law violator in Canada, and his partner Royer from misappropriating investor funds illegally raised through the fraudulent unregistered offer and sale of securities called PlexCoin or PlexCoin tokens in a purported initial coin offering from August 2017 through present. Defendants have obtained investor funds, purportedly $15 million from thousands of investors, through materially false and misleading statements made by LaCroix individually and through entities LaCroix controls, including by promising investors roughly 1,400% profit in 29 days. Oh, very boring. Yeah, we've already read through all this bullshit. So as far as I can tell, their only crime so far has been soliciting investors in their coin and acting kind of like a security. I don't know that that's a legitimate reason for the SEC's complaint. I mean, they managed to make $15 million. I didn't actually read the entirety of the complaint. There could be evidence on the part of the SEC that they've actually provided indicating that there was such a wrongdoing, such as misappropriation of the customer funds. Hey, if there is fraud, if there is thievery going on, yes, SEC, CFTC, FDIC, go after those motherfuckers. But I want actual material loss. I don't want the SEC thinks, the SEC suspects, blah, 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 they didn't register. That's not a legitimate complaint as far as I'm concerned. However, again, if you can show evidence of fraud, they weren't in direct custodialship of the accounts in question, that the accounts in question were actually under the custodialship or in the name of some other legal entity or person or persons, okay. Some undisclosed third party that the funds are being distributed to, as was the case in Tezos. That was actually a factor in that the court proceedings with regard to that. But anyway, point being that those are the kind of things that I would say would merit the SEC lodging a complaint. Is that if there are investors saying, hey, I have lost thousands of dollars, I have lost hundreds of dollars, I lost $10. This guy screwed me out of $10, this guy frauded me out of $10 under the banner of this, and the SEC looks at the evidence provided and says, you know what? These guys were acting just like a fucking security, and they didn't file with us. Okay, legitimate complaint. And even then, I don't even think that I don't know. I don't know that that's actually a legitimate complaint. I don't think the SEC's seal of approval is the benchmark of whether or not something is a fraud. However, I will say that their behavior, their actual activities with the funds in question, this is what marks it as a quote-unquote fraud, or a scam, or a scam coin, or a scam token, or a shit token, or whatever. That's what defines it as such. If you're receiving funds for an expectation of a gain, and you're not delivering on that expectation, to me that's a fraud. If you're intentionally misappropriating funds, and you're repeatedly dodging investors and so on and so forth, okay, that to me is a marker of a fraud. And they're, like I said, we didn't read the entirety of the SEC's complaint, so for all we know, they actually had evidence to that effect. But it was 35 pages, and we just don't have that much time today. So, maybe another day we'll actually get to it. But the point being that from what I've seen so far, there has been no indication of actual material loss. If there is monetary or material loss involved, if there is evidence of fraudulent behavior, if there is evidence of misappropriation of funds, okay. Otherwise, back the fuck off. Leave them the fuck alone. Don't worry about it. Let the investors figure it out. Because chances are, SEC, with or without your seal of approval, and I would stress this, we're better off without your seal of approval. The people that are participating in these ICOs, the people that are orchestrating them, are directly responsible to us, and we're directly responsible for our funds. If we are investing willy-nilly, if we are throwing money at this silly bastard, that is our fault, because we are not doing our homework. I probably could have reviewed the ICO white paper and said, this is a fucking scam, I'm not going to invest in it. I don't need you, the SEC, the CFTC, any of those, I don't need you to tell me where to put my money. So far, I seem to have been doing pretty good at it myself, even though I am like the worst trader in the fucking universe. The worst. I've let money sit on positions so fucking long, it was beyond feasible. As a matter of fact, I think Bittrex kind of caught me in that, and now they're limiting their orders to like 28 days, and then they just clear them. And I think that's kind of bullshit, because I mean, I read waves, man. I read rhythms, and I don't know when the rhythms are going to actually get to where I think they're going to get to. I just see them getting there eventually. And I'm usually right. But I will say this. In the meantime, I've like missed out on a bazillion easier fucking opportunities to make money. So that's why I say I'm like the worst trader in the universe. Because, I'm looking at my Twitter feed and I'm seeing people making all kinds of fucking money on really quick trades. And I've got my money hung up in trades that, if I were to liquidate now, I'd lose a significant sum of money. Whereas if I let it hang where it is, I think I could expect to see some sort of gain, and so, like I said, I'll be the first to say I'm probably the worst trader in all of crypto, but I've still done okay. And when I look at the returns that some people have made on conventional markets, I'm just like, why are you wasting your time with that shit? If you'd have dedicated the same amount of time that you dedicated to making that 20 or 30% on your portfolio, You could have made 20, 30x in the fucking crypto markets. I mean, even doing the stupid shit that I do, you probably could have made way more money than that 20 or 30% profit on your portfolio. I mean, I can't look at a year where I did that bad. I consider 20-30% on my portfolio, either in the volume of my positions or the total overall value of my portfolio. I think 20 or 30% annually that's shit. Fuck, man, you gotta be buying high and selling low, and still making money on the cash conversion to be only kicking 20-30% on your fucking investment per annum. I'm serious. You gotta be like throwing darts at a dartboard, saying, you know, if it's under 10, I'm gonna buy. If it's over 10, I'm gonna sell, and like being the worst player in the universe or something. You really got to be that bad to only be increasing your profit by 20 or 30% per annum. Sorry. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And I haven't been playing any Fear Factory. I love Fear Factory. Why not? I don't know. But we're going to do that right now. We're going to resolve that right fucking now. Where is it? I was looking for a specific song on here. There it is. Invisible Wounds. Fear Factory. Here on Coin Metal. And that was Textures with Regenesis. I want to get their last album. I think they might have actually broken up. It seems to me I'd heard something about there being some sort of dissolution of the band. I don't know if that's factual. I don't know. Anyway, we wanted to get into this thing here. And it's on Cointelegraph.com, and this is by David Dinkins. This one was actually published on September 26th, so I'm almost absolutely certain I've actually read this before, but we're going to read it again now, just for context. So here we go. SEC announces creation of, quote, cyber unit with broad powers, including ICO oversight. Good luck with that. Today, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, issued a press release about their creation of a dedicated cyber unit. Among other things, this unit will exercise some oversight over digital currencies. No, they won't. Broad authority. The SEC stated, the cyber unit will focus on the Enforcement Division's substantial cyber-related enterprise on target cyber-related misconduct such as market manipulation schemes involving false information spread through electronic and social media, hacking to obtain material non-public information, violations involving you know what, and on that one, hacking to obtain material non-public information, you're doing a shit job so far, cyber unit. Violations involving distributed ledger technology and initial coin offerings, misconduct perpetrated using the dark web, intrusions into retail brokerage accounts, cyber-related threats to trading platforms and other critical market infrastructure. The new cyber unit will clearly have significant authority if all these are to fall under its purview. The third bullet point is most relevant to the cryptocurrency markets. The SEC is officially taking on the role of policing both ICOs and the distributed ledger technology sector. Simply giving one's self-enforcement power over distributed ledger technology seems overly broad. Depending on how the SEC and perhaps the courts define this term, the SEC could have wide latitude to investigate users of digital currencies. ICO regulation is no surprise. Following this summer's ruling that Ethereum's The DAO project was in fact a security offering, it is no surprise that the SEC is taking a rather proactive approach with respect to regulating ICOs. The ICO boom has been unprecedented, raising over $1.5 billion in 2017 alone. Many of these ICOs are either outright scams or are the result of some vague ideas in the head of a few would-be entrepreneurs. Some of the r/Bitcoin market subreddit have expressed their pleasure at the SEC's apparent plan to get tough on ICOs. I dislike any regulatory oversight, period, though I'm pleasantly surprised at the SEC's chosen course of action here. They might even manage to deter a blatant exit scammer fraudster or two from preying on idiots. No, they won't. Other points of interest in the SEC's announcement include the first bullet point, which states that the SEC will be watching out for pump and dump schemes carried out via electronic and social media. Additionally, for digital currency users who carry out illegal activities on the dark web, bullet point 4 indicates that the SEC will be looking out for that conduct as well. Balanced approach. On a whole, the SEC seems to be taking a balanced approach to digital currencies. Given that many ICOs promise, quote, tokens that sound a great deal like shares, it's unsurprising that the SEC would be interested in potential securities violations from that area. Careful enforcement could prevent retail investors from being fleeced, while not destroying the fledgling ICO market entirely. Likewise, oversight over, quote, distributed ledger technology violations could give the SEC more power to track down and prosecute alleged scammers like Josh Garza. Indeed. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be terribly successful, honestly. But that's just me. But I did have this other article here somewhere. Damn it, Jim. I guess I might have closed it. Huh. Anyway, we did get to quite a few bits of information today. The SEC, I think they're being overzealous with some of this stuff. But, that's just my qualifications. I expect that there are fraudsters. It's just the fact of life. We've seen multiple waves of them in cryptocurrencies. So my expectation is that we're going to be continuing to deal with them. And that's all right to me. I don't see that as a bad thing. And I know some people might object to that perspective, but I got into this with the knowledge that those things actually exist. I was a fully informed investor. I didn't guess. I didn't operate on somebody else's opinions. I still don't. And honestly, and I will be honest here, that's actually served as a disservice to me a couple times. But the lessons were mine to learn on my own. And, the fact that I'm still trading at all is a miracle to me when I watch how other people have been wrecked in this space. But then again, I kind of do my homework. And I think that's part of that due diligence that a lot of people are lacking on. That you guys just aren't doing your homework. And you really can't blame anybody but yourself in that. If you're looking at an ICO and it looks tasty and you think you might be able to make some money on it, just keep in mind that this area of finance is particularly scam malicious. And if you aren't reading their white papers, you have no idea what you're throwing your money at. And really, that's a disservice to you as the investor, not anybody else. And the SEC can try to protect you. They can give everything their stamp of approval. They can require all kinds of regulations and shit. But if you don't have your own smell test to go by, you're going to get wrecked. You're going to get wrecked. I was saved really, really early on with my investments when I started talking to a particular broker, and I was looking at Enron. I wanted to get in on that business. I'm like, man, people are making shit tons of money on this. Let's get in on this. And he's like, no, you don't want anything to do with that. That's so bad. Even I know that it's not good, and I don't trade in that stuff. So, and I listened to his advice, and shit. 2 months later, the thing crashed, and the whole scam was broke. But again, I did listen to somebody else's smell test, but it was only because I was that noobish with regard to investment. And like I said, he did save my ass. There are going to be those rare gems that will give you proper advice on cryptocurrency investment here in the space. However, you have to keep in mind, we're all out to make money. We are. We all have our own interests to serve. So when you see me saying things like, sell me your coins cheap, I'm just fucking with you, man. Just fucking with you. This is a game. That's part of the game. It makes me laugh how many people get panicked over the slightest little bit of action. And you know what? You can't. You can't. You just gotta disregard it. You gotta look at your long-term plan and determine what your goals are before you put money down. That's part of that research business. You don't just like say, bet it on black, and then bitch when it goes red. It's nobody's fault but your own. Anyway, it is with that I'd like to close out this episode. I'd like to thank you all very, very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support both here and on Twitter and on my YouTube channel. I do like the little bit of feedback that I get there, and also on the Telegram channel. It's certainly cool. Anyway, we are going to close this out. We will be back again on Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want y'all to trade safe. Do your motherfucking homework, because the SEC isn't going to do it for you, and they cannot save you from your own fucking stupidity. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Anyway, let's go ahead and close this one out. We'll go ahead and throw it down with a little bit of static X here, permanence, here on Coin Metal. Thank you very much for listening, and y'all have an excellent evening.